I feel like I keep running into you guys, you know.
Yeah, we feel the same way.
We end up in the same places. I just saw you guys at Ultra Music Festival in Miami, right?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
How was that for you guys?
It was good. Ultra is always good. A lot of energy, a lot of people, and yeah, we had a great set.
Yeah, I heard that. And you guys are here in New York now. You have 2 shows at the Hammerstein Ballroom, Friday and Saturday, that's right?
Yes, correct.
What can fans expect from those shows?
Well, there's always that time when you get to go into rehearsal and do a brand new production show set and new music. So we couldn't be more excited. We just did what we usually do, but more of everything, basically. You know, just added more drums, more gear on stage, higher energy, more fireworks.
A lot of new songs.
Yes.
Speaking of new songs, I hear you guys have an album on the way. What can you tell us about that right now?
Well, we got all the songs written, so it's in the final stages. It's one of those things where we're a new act. We have only one album out. When you do your first album, you have all the time in the world. You don't have a following. You're not on tour. It's only you and your first album, and you can work on that forever. That moment never comes back to you. So this is a different album, of course, because we've been on tour. Now we have people following our music. The pressure is on us, but we like that actually. It's like we've been challenged and going into new areas of creating music that haven't been before. And just being on stage as much as we like, I think last year we did like 170 shows or something. Yeah, so it's like just that like feeding off of the audience and the energy has gone into this album. So
you're kind of constantly on the road doing this type of music, what we're doing, and you have to learn how to make music anywhere and everywhere, so it's a lot of airport lounges and a lot of,
yes,
just like
security.
That's where we make our best songs.
Now, I remember when I first interviewed you guys was way back in, I think, 2014, right? And you guys were working on your first album, and I remember you were able to kind of disappear to the archipelago in outside Stockholm and go to the islands and basically pull like a Led Zeppelin and just disappear for a bit and work kind of hide away and really put those songs together. And I know you touched on it a bit, but I'd love to about having to do it while in transit. But I'd love to hear in other ways how your studio process differed this time around.
Well, yeah, it changed a lot. I think we both, we come from a background where we used to have the studio as our home, basically. So, like, everything needs to be exactly what we used to, Don't move anything, And then we had to move, like, the whole thing of creative space into being on the road. So, all of a sudden, your most used instrument is now voice memo on iPhone, It's like it goes there, and like you just have to be comfortable and that you will put it together for real when you have the moment in the studio, because that's like more compressed now, like your time where you relax in the studio. So, but the creative flow is always there. So you just have to catch all those moments on a flight, on a boat, on a train. You just have to always be ready to record or like. What do you think about this? Like, and start making music anywhere. So that's the huge change for us, of course. But yeah.
How do you feel that sort of the interplay between you two has evolved, both in the studio and also on stage, as you've been able to do it more?
Well, you kind of grow into one when we see each other this much. It starts to like feel like a thing where you don't even think about it. We're just always together. So
it's kind of like you learn how to read each other's minds. It just happens. I guess it's as close as being twins.
Yeah.
Cool. And I know we have Coachella coming up next week, where I'll see you guys
Yay.
again. But Coachella was where you debuted the Galantis project live, correct?
Yes, our first show ever was at Coachella.
And you know, I know you've had experience playing it with Mike Snow before, and
Yeah.
you know, talk a little bit about what you have in the works for this Coachella, what you can tell us, and also what sort of the significance of that festival is.
I think Coachella is one of the festival of festivals. You know, I think everyone thinks that, and it's a special place. And for us, it gets even more special because we started there. It was like our first show was like, I think it was like 2 weeks after we released our first piece of music. So it was like very nervous. I think it was more built on that, like Mike Snow and Style of I was coming together. So people didn't really know what it was. So now coming back and having a following, having an audience, and having, you know, a lot of released music, it's a completely different thing. And it's something that we've been, you know, waited, you know, some time to finally go back into the desert.
Very cool. And you know, you have a new single out, which they just saw the video for.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how you guys made that, and you know, get into a little bit of the details on the backstory on that.
Well, we started to find out that we were really like really young people singing, so we've been using a lot of children singing on our music. And this one is a good friend sent us her daughter's vocal. She's 8, and she's the one singing the song. So it took a while to put the pieces together, but we were so mesmerized about that vocal and this little 8-year-old girl singing that. So yeah, we just stuck with it and worked on it until it became a single.
Now, I remember even dating back to our first interview, something that always stuck out about your music were the vocals, you know, and I remember I was one of the first to ask about that, you know, just how you kind of process them, how you put them together, how you kind of combine these different sounds to create almost this kind of like unearthly voice. Talk a little bit about, you know, how you approach that in your music.
Well, I feel like being in Galantis, like this was something that we felt it's freedom with the vocal, because we're not singing. I mean, I have my other band. I have to have the lead singer sing, right? And when we be producing for other big acts, we have to, you know, be respectful to the voice. You know, we can't do whatever we want. This is freedom in Galantis. We do whatever we want. We can bring in whoever and do whatever, and that we just gonna take that freedom and use it and do it. So, and we did that from day one. We kind of liked when you can't feel out. What, like, is this female or male vocal, or is this you know, human or robot? Like, we wanted that you don't know, you know, the unknown, and be like, oh, I don't understand, but I like it.
To be honest, I think we were a little tired of the human voice when we started Galantis.
Yeah, we like
so
robots.
Yeah, we like robots.
And for those of you who haven't seen them, they have a very dynamic live show. You guys are doing a lot up there, and so you should go see them if you haven't. Could you tell them a little bit about what your live setup is like there, and about how you translate what you did in the studio to the live show?
Yeah, that's basically what it is. Like when I met Linus the first time, that meeting in the studio, the energy we have when we create in the studio, we were like bouncing off the walls and dancing and screaming and singing. We're like, okay, this energy we have when we create, let's try to bring that to the stage and bring all our favorite gear from the studio, and let's try to make it so we can be spontaneous and create while up there. And so every night, every show will be special and different, and it'll be scary because like you can make mistakes, and you know, from that you learn something, or it's, oh, that's amazing, let's bring that into the next night, whatever. So that's what we did. And we also like to, you know, jump around and burn a lot of calories, so we built a lot of big steps and drums, you know, so yeah.
Now, I remember when we first spoke, you know, in 2014, we were talking about how sort of that main stage sound sort of needed like an injection of, you know, something new or interesting into it. And I think you guys really did provide that in many ways. What's sort of your sense for how the kind of the dance music market is presently?
I feel the dance music right now is right in a huge transition and change, and it's really exciting. And I don't know where it's going to go. I think everyone's searching. I know where we're going, but I don't know where the genre is going. But I think that brings out a lot of cool music, and I feel like we needed that change. I think it was standing still for a long time, and it wasn't that the music was bad, but you need that like search for something new and new sounds and yeah, we're in it right now, and it's cool. Exciting times.
Where would you say you guys are going?
Into the future.
Yeah, we're going back to the future. We're from the future.
Cool. And I mean, you've now had the opportunity to, travel the world in various different capacities, both with your solo stuff as Style of I, with Mike Snow. And talk a little bit about how you're seeing electronic music internationally. Are you seeing an expansion in Asia? What have been been your sense for outside the
Asia is exploding right now. Kind of similar to what happened 5-6 years ago here in the States. We're seeing that now. It's a lot of big festivals popping up, and we're having an amazing time down there too. So
Yeah, it feels like it's booming everywhere, but Asia right now definitely. We've been going back and forth to China. It's like those big dance music festivals are like popping up everywhere. So
South America too.
yeah,
Crazy.
yeah, amazing.
Fans are crazy down there, right?
Yeah, they're crazy.
In a good way.
In a good way.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're passionate.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, also, one thing I also love to touch back on. I remember when we were hanging out on Holy Ship and we had a conversation about how, I remember Christian, you've been in the world of the pop world as Bloodshy. You've been in the indie rock, or indie pop, whatever you want to call it, the indie world as Mike Snow, and in the electronic world as Galantis and as your respective solo. And you mentioned how the community is so collaborative and cooperative. In the dance music world, people sort of repping each other's releases and co-promoting each other on different platforms. Do you still feel like that's the case? And I'd love to hear any sort of examples of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely one of the reasons I wanted to go deeper into dance music. When I touched it, just from being a producer, liking dance music, borrowed a lot from house and techno and stuff, and then even with Mike Snow. And then getting to know more and more of that community, I saw something that I don't see in other places, where you play each other's music, you cherish each other's music, and you support each other. Like it's really unbelievable. And we actually, most of us know each other in some way, and talk to each other. So that's really cool. I mean, if you compare, you wouldn't see like Blur playing an Oasis track, like, oh, I'm gonna. It's a huge difference. So yeah, it's cool.
What are some of the sounds that are inspiring you right now? Any certain styles or artists that you're hearing?
There's a lot of animal sounds right now that inspires us.
Yeah, we've been exploring lots of animals.
Baby Cub is our favorite right now.
Yeah. But otherwise, I feel like there's a lot of new cool acts that are coming out. That's interesting. It's interesting to watch the new young kids that grew up with making music in a different way than we did. It's really cool. Yeah, I learned from that too, definitely.
And I remember when we met, it was also sort of a bit of a different climate. The climate was in a bit of transition. I remember that was still kind of when SoundCloud was kind of king, and everyone was kind of rising the hype machine charts and all that. And it seems like now there's been a bit of a shift, and Spotify playlists and placements there are really key. I'd love to hear your perspective on how sort of the streaming climate has changed since Galantis started.
Yeah, it feels like it's booming so much that you can feel the difference in like month to month. You could see it in songs, that a song that's like a newer it looks bigger than a song just 6 months ago, just because more
users.
Yeah, more users, more territories. It's really big boom right now, which is cool. I like to see that, like also the challenge in between platforms and stuff. I don't think it should be just one. So and can even have more of it than we have now.
Are there any territories where your music is really popular that you find like a little surprising or interesting? Or?
Yeah, all the time. We just did a tour in Brazil. We didn't really know much about like if we had fans. That was absolutely mind blowing. So yeah, that was cool.
You know, you guys have worn so many different hats throughout the different, you know, during the course of your career. You know, producing pop music, being in a live outfit, you know, DJing, producing. What advice would you have for, you know, people who are sort of trying to follow your path into being an artist or being a producer?
Well, it's kind of a cliche, but it's all about being original and trying to. It sounds easy to say, but it's actually really hard. Like you tend to listen to other music and kind of do like you like something, and then you make your own music and you make it sound like that music. But you need to stay original and try to dare to be original. I think that's what it is. Dare to like. If you do something original, you're gonna get a lot of hate too, because people don't know it. I don't understand what you're doing, and then you're gonna get hate, and that's when people fall into line and trying to do something that's already out. Don't do that. That's what I'm.
You can start trying out to copy things just to learn how people are like arranging stuff and how they build the soundscapes and everything. But eventually, you're just gonna come to a place where you need to, you know, share your voice, your real voice, and it's gonna take time to find it. You know, it's like with everything. So yeah.
Yeah, and don't look at the gear. Like
No.
people look at the gear. What kind of studio do I have? What do I
matter.
need to make music? You don't need shit, really.
Yeah. And also, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of hate and people with a lot of, you know, they're gonna try to influence you. But I think always stick to your gut feeling about what you like, you know, because in the end, that's who you're making music for to start with.
You know, and unlike you know rock or you know, pop and other genres, there isn't really the album cycle in dance electronic music that allows you time to rest. It seems as though it's a constant climate of touring. You know, you're always on tour in some way. And it can be kind of, I think for some artists, especially on the rise, a bit jarring to go from spending all their time in the studio, you know, a relatively safe, you know, predictable space, to constantly being touring, constantly being on the road. How did you guys kind of adjust to that, and how do you stay healthy, you know, while doing that?
Still learning.
Yeah, we're still learning. We're still hurting, man. But it is something beautiful with it too. To always be on tour, I gotta say. But we do miss the days where you feel like, okay, I'm going on tour for 4 months, and then we're going back into the studio for 6 months or something. But now we just adjusted, and you know, it is what it is, and it is really cool that you can always be on tour. It's really amazing that someone wants to hear our music every weekend somewhere. So we're just being very, you know, happy about that and enjoying the journey.
What have been some of the cooler places you visited over the past year?
Whoa.
So many.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's always cool to go to places where you don't know about your music, like China, because we have no idea. You don't see them on social media and stuff, so you have no idea what you're gonna meet there or see when you get there. So that was really cool.
You land in China and you're in a van for like 2 hours, and you end up in the middle of nowhere, and then there's just this huge festival,
Yeah,
100,000 people
yeah.
or something, and it's like this is so global.
Cool surprise. Yeah.
Was that Storm Festival, or was it?
Yeah, that was one of them. Yeah, that was cool.
What was
Yeah.
the crowd like there? How did it kind of compared with American crowds?
It's kind of similar, I gotta say. They
But
went
they know
off.
more
Yeah.
Chinese.
For sure. Yeah, and now we're heading back to Japan. EDC is the first time in Japan. That's gonna be cool. See how that's gonna go down. But we're really excited about that. We love Japan.
And you know, probably about to wrap it up. Last question. I know you touched on it when you were talking about, for you know, aspiring producers having to deal with kind of like hate coming their way. That's kind of a conversation I've had with a lot of guys who have come up. You know, young guys like Martin Garrix, like Kygo, who've come up in you know, suddenly go from, you know, just getting a lot of positive feedback to getting all this kind of hatred and vitriol over social media and such. And I know some of them have had a lot of trouble dealing with that. And I wanted to hear, you know, when that kind of started happening for you, just how you dealt with that and, you know, managed to stay positive.
Well, it always happens when you start off and you get your core fans that are the first ones, and they kind of really grab grab you. And then if you have any more success, you get more and more bigger audience, bigger followers. It's very easy that one of the first ones start to hate on you, hate on you that you're changing, you're getting too big, and all that stuff. And it hurts because like those are the ones you want to please the most, the first ones that were there for you. So I read it all. I want to answer back, can't answer all, but I want to answer because sometimes they're just holding on to something that you can't hold on. Like I can't make that song one more time. I have to write another song. Like, yeah, give me a break. You can't write the same song. It's like that's always happening. I felt it with Mike Snow as well. But that's just how it is. It's you just need to have thick skin, I guess.
I think we're going to open up the floor to questions. So if anyone had any questions, now's your time.
Hi. My question was, do you have a favorite memory or place or stage, country where you've performed at? And if you do, what made it so special?
I think we gotta give it to Coachella because our first show was there, and we love that festival. So,
Such a big tent, like you're stepping in and first show, almost no music out, like four songs
we're
out.
Super nervous.
So nervous that we don't remember the first 5 minutes. and it was a great show. So
yeah,
that's it.
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
What would you say compliments you guys the best? Compliments you guys. What are the qualities that you have that really just mix with each other's character?
Oh, of each other?
Yeah.
It's a bit of yin and yang, I would say.
Yeah. We started to morph into one person. So it's very hard.
Yes.
I think we're actually very similar on almost everything. It's kind of scary. I don't know.
It's a little bit of, one day he's late, another day I'm late. That's kind of vibe, and we try to cover for each other, like you do in school. It's like
That's what it is.
yeah.
I think we have time for one more question.
What's your inspiration behind the track Runaway? I bump your track all the time in the clubs. I'm a DJ myself, so big inspiration to you guys. And just what's your
Thanks.
inspiration behind that track? Because I do events for weddings and social events and different types of events. So.
Well, Runaway was a kind of a tricky one because it was almost like it was 3 songs that we try to get it into be one song. Like the verse, the pre-chorus, and the drop was sounding so different, and was 3 different vocals. So that was one of the first times we like really try to manipulate and get it to sound like one by, getting all the tweaks and things on the vocal. And yeah, we hit our head bleeding to get that done, but I'm happy we did it.
All right, so you can catch Galantis at Hammerstein Ballroom Friday and Saturday.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
All right, everyone, give it up for Christian Linus.
Thank you, guys.